Hi, everyone. So glad you're here with me today. I really just want to make an announcement and give you a little background and context about what this effort is all about. And the announcement's simple, but it's big. I wrote a book. It's right here in my hand, first copy, hot off the presses. The book will be available for purchase anywhere books are sold online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, other national distributors. It'll be available in paperback, hardcover, and digital versions for anyone that likes to read on the go. So what is the book and why is it important and what does it cover? So first of all, this book, I'll be honest with everyone, it started after the 2024 election, and I was just trying to better understand for myself what just happened, why did it happen, and what can we do about it? And that mental health exercise for myself started innocently enough with my dog next to the desk and me just hammering away on the keyboard. And it turned into this book, and I structured it in a way to help people understand exactly the thought journey I went on. And I started, the part one is really all about my life story. Growing up, lower middle class family here in Connecticut, first one in my family to go to college, but I had to go fight in Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, in order to be able to get through college without having to take on a bunch of student debt. And I really reflect on what that journey was like. I did that intentionally, not just to allow people to better understand my background, although that's important, I think, but really it's important because I want people to understand what my own biases are. And here's the first lesson I want everyone to take away. We all have biases. It's okay. Recognize them, understand them. That way you can make sense out of them and not be afraid of them moving forward. And that's what part one is really all about. Part two, when I was really thinking about what has been happening in our country, I, like most of the people I talk to about politics on, really focus in on this particular administration or the last particular administration. We're very much focused on the here and now. And what I realized when I started putting pen to paper is there's a lot going on here and now. And there's a lot going on here and now that disguises what has really been going on for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But then once you start to expand out the timeline, you start to have to include an awful lot. And so I really broke it down into a framework. Frameworks are important from a systems perspective and understanding how systems work, because any system made up of human beings like politics and society, our economy, political power, what it means to be an American, all these various systems that influence us each and every day, whether we like it or not, are fundamentally made up of decisions made by humans, which is inherently complex. We can just throw up our arms and say, well, we'll never understand it. Or we can try to break it down into the most important component parts. And that's what I do in part two. Part two is really all about understanding the 40 to 50 year journey we've been on as a country from an economic perspective that can help explain to people why so many of us feel like there isn't enough to go around while we've been producing more wealth every single year than any country in history on this planet. I explain that. I also talk about why it seems like a disjointed political system when each and every election we seem to vote for change. The change candidate always seems to win our national elections, but then the change never seems to come. And I dive into that another chapter in part two. And then finally, if the economic system isn't working for the vast majority of Americans and the political system isn't working for the vast majority of Americans, what do we have left to fight over in politics? And it's really the culture war stuff. What does it mean to even be an American? And I talk about how politics and campaigning feeds into that, both good and bad. And then I also do a couple deep dives into Christian nationalism, because I am an evangelical Christian who is a Democrat, also ran as a working family party candidate. And I just wanted to share with people what Jesus actually taught versus what is being held up as right now. And I also wanted to talk about why leaders on the left who want to see progress tend to fall really short. And don't get me wrong, part two has plenty of criticism, the leadership of MAGA and for the leadership of the Democratic Party for the last couple decades. No one's perfect, but there's a whole lot more room to improve for a country of 350 million people. You would think we could probably do better. That's a sentiment I've heard over and over and over again. And I talk about that in part two. And the reason why I tee up part two the way I do is because it's easy just to throw up our hands and say, it just is the way it is. You can't really do anything about it. Yet, once you understand that the systems are the way that they are because of decisions that were made years and years and years ago, it is really empowering to realize we can just make different and hopefully better decisions moving forward. And that's what part three is all about. Part three is really about understanding that we have the power, we have the capability to actually make an economic system that works for the vast majority of Americans. We actually already have the thought leadership and ideas to do that. We have ways and ideas to get started to make our political system more responsive to more Americans. We have ways to understand of how to make more people feel included and how do we all become better when we're all included in our political and economic system. The thing stopping us isn't ideas. And I make the case in part 3, not just by giving you a couple and some high level fancy ideas. I actually break down a whole plethora of ideas to get started on each of those. And then finally, I really talk about how we need to change how we do campaigning in order to make sure any of that is actually possible and feasible. So I want readers to really walk away from this book with a better understanding of how we got to now, understanding how empowered we are right now in this moment to chart a different path forward. And to make that exact point, I even put some appendices in here to give you what would be a true fair deal for America moving forward. Now, I'm not saying that will solve every one of America's problems. I'm not even saying that these are the best ideas out there. These are the ones I came across. But I put them all in here to say this should help get us started having a conversation that is far more pragmatic that can lead to a better future for all of us. That's what this book is all about. And because I put in this book that I think leaders in politics really need to start creating movements that can educate, inspire, inform people all over this country, and that we need to do that from a digital first campaign perspective, that I want to start this YouTube channel to also do that in deeper ways. And so I hope you'll join me on this journey. I hope that you will buy the book, read it, reach out to me if you have questions, and specifically reach out on this channel if there's anything you want me to dive deeper on or into. At the end of the day, it's a decently long book, but you always have to make decisions about what you include and don't include. And I'm happy to go deeper into anything people want to. So I hope you'll pick up a copy. I hope you'll let me know whether you like it or not. And at the end of the day, I hope more than anything that this book will make you feel empowered to be part of the change. Because at the end of the day, it sounds like a cliche talking point, but it's so true. Democracy is not a spectator sport, and we need you to get involved. Thank you. If you haven't yet, please click like on this video, drop a comment below, and click that subscribe button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm make sure that these videos are getting into your feed. Thank you.